Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of BrainScratch Searchlight. I'm your host, John Lorden, and today I would like to thank Erin Luna. Erin Luna contacted me just a few days after this lovely young woman, Bianca Carrasco, went missing. And Erin has kept in touch with me over the past few weeks and kept me updated in terms of developments in this case. I initially was hoping that this is one of those cases that would be solved quickly. If you look at the statistics, missing persons cases, the majority of them are solved fairly quickly. In many cases, people just need to disappear for a number of days, maybe a week or two. But we're now coming up on 3 weeks. Still no sign of Bianca. And there are some interesting turns in this case. It's strange because Erin is a bit close to this case, and some of the information that Erin has provided, it's not quite factual. It's not usually the stuff I would rely on, but there are factual pieces we're going to cover, and then I do think it's worth at least talking about it, at least in terms of theorizing around some of the additional information that Erin has sent. So before we get started, just one more time, thank you so much for your work and dedication to this, Erin, and I'm sorry that your friend has gone missing. And hopefully all of us here on the Geek and Dorks channel can help turn on that searchlight and maybe figure out what happened here for Bianca. So we're starting with a poster. This is the Bianca Carrasco flyer that is being hosted at Texas EquuSearch.org. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about their organization. I'm just coming to understand a bit more about what they do in terms of helping these cases, and it's pretty amazing, but we'll touch on that more at the end of the episode. Here we can see Bianca Carrasco from San Antonio, Texas. The date she went missing was May 1st, 2016. Her date of birth is July 21st, 1986. That would make her 29 years old. She has brown shoulder-length hair. She's 5'1", 125 pounds. Brown eyes. She is a female. She is Hispanic with a fair complexion. And we can see the contact information here we have is for the police, San Antonio Police Department, Detective Trevino. We've got a phone number, the officer's case number, and a TES case number. Of course, I will include all of that information in the description box below. If you have any information, please send it their way. So this is also on Texas EquuSearch.org. This is just a bit of a bio on what happened with Bianca. So let's take a look at this. This was posted by Kevin Cotter. 29-year-old Bianca Carrasco disappeared after leaving her home to go for a walk in San Antonio, Texas on May 1st, 2016. Bianca was wearing colorful pastel leggings, a blue jean jacket, and she was carrying a pink Prada purse. Bianca has a surgical scar on her abdomen and the letter B tattooed on her hip. If you have seen Bianca since her disappearance, or if you know of her current whereabouts, or if you have any information concerning her disappearance, please call the San Antonio Police Department. Once again, they include the phone numbers, and they have a phone number for EquuSearch as well. If you got a little bit of a hint towards the end of that they might just be looking for information pertaining to what happened to her, there might be some very good reasons for that as we get further into this case. So as simple as this bio might be written up, there are definitely some interesting aspects that we need to talk about. So let's keep moving along here. This is an article from news4sanantonio.com. Seems to be the NBC affiliate for that area. We can see the title, Missing Woman Left to Go for a Walk, Never Returned. There's a lot of great information in this article coming from her sister, and that's where we start to get a bit more insight into what's going on here. Just reading from this article. It seems odd on the surface. It's a peaceful neighborhood where a beautiful mother of 3 and registered nurse hasn't been heard or seen in almost 2 weeks. I don't think she's okay, says older sister Giovanna Burney. Things were not normal in her life when she went missing, Giovanna told us. According to the police report, her husband told investigators they had been having marital problems in the week prior to her disappearance. In the report, he told police that Bianca told him she was having an affair and gave back the wedding ring. The person who filed the report, who isn't named, said her husband cleared out her bank account and took the phone. of course, that starts raising flags immediately for me, particularly the story about taking her phone, because as we know in many of these cases, the ping information from a cell phone is very often used to try to figure out the last steps of a person. And with this story here being that he took her cell phone, that really muddies up if we can track where her whereabouts were, or is this just a story he made because she was actually with him? I'm not quite certain, but her sister says it very, very quick and plainly in the next sentence here. There's just a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and I don't want people jumping to conclusions and assuming things. Giovanna says she and Bianca talked on the phone at 2 that afternoon, the day she went missing. She was just kind of venting to me about personal issues, Giovanna explained. Now, when Aaron first contacted me, there was some talk about, I believe the husband's name is Joe Daniel, if I'm remembering correctly. And we'll take a look at some clips that I've taken from Aaron's information in a little bit. And it was looking pretty suspicious on Joe Daniel's part right off the bat. And I was trying to remind Aaron that, you know, people that are going through a divorce are not always going to act normal. For example, he was talking about the fact that Joe Daniel had not posted on Facebook about his wife's disappearance, didn't seem to be trying to get any help or support around that. But this is a man that is, you know, being separated from, essentially. They have 3 children tied up in all this. He's just heard that she's having an affair. So it's very hard to gauge the reactions of a person when they're dealing with all that. However, that is also an argument for him being a person of interest or even potentially a suspect at some point. Those are some pretty serious things to hear from your spouse. Very hard for a lot of people to process emotionally. Was he caught up in a fit of rage? I think we have to theorize that there is some potential for that, but let's see if we can find any more information. The next day, Bianca didn't show up for work at an oncology office. Giovanna found out she was missing at 4 p.m. the next day. So her sister didn't even know she was missing until about 18 hours or so after she actually went missing. So let's jump to the information from Aaron. And I did find some other news reports, but unfortunately none of them really had any further details. One of them from a Fox affiliate out there was literally like a copy of that article that I just noted from the NBC affiliate. So link is down below. I highly recommend you read through the NBC affiliate's information. But here is where we're going to start looking at Aaron's information, and I just want to once again put a little warning out there. This is information coming from very close to the case. You know, I don't think this type of information would be typically admissible if this was a court of law, but luckily we don't have that constraint, so we can at least review and talk about it. Bianca had been posting vids of her kids just dancing and acting goofy at home on Facebook on Sunday, May 1st, the day she went missing. I believe her last Facebook post occurred around 4:30 on Sunday. Her husband works in Odessa, Texas in the oil field business and leaves for up to 3 weeks at a time before returning back home in San Antonio. He supposedly left on Sunday, not sure what time, heading to Odessa for work on Monday. The children were left behind with Bianca per usual. Sometime that night, Sunday night, is when she went missing. Her husband, whose name is Joe Daniel, by the way, supposedly called his kids on Monday morning just to check up on them and see if they were getting ready for school. The kids told him they hadn't gotten ready yet because they said Bianca was still asleep. Joe Daniel then told the kids to go wake her up, and that is when they realized she was not at home. Joe Daniel then started to head back to San Antonio and find out what was going on. Now that clip came from an email that Aaron had written to me very soon after this had happened, only a few days. And some more details and information kind of shook out after that. So let's continue here. This is according to a friend of his. The husband version of what occurred is that they had an argument the night she went missing, Sunday, May 1st. And she told Joe Daniel, the husband, that she was having an affair and gave him back her wedding ring. Joe Daniel supposedly also said that she had received either a phone call or text from someone who he believes was possibly the guy she had been seeing. Then at some point that night, Bianca said she was either going for a walk or leaving, and that's when she started walking down her block with her pink purse. This occurred around 10 p.m., and the 3 kids were already in bed. Joe Daniel apparently needed to get going to Odessa, Texas for work, and so he left his house, leaving the kids home alone, presumably thinking that Bianca was going to come back to the house since she didn't leave in her car. That was the last time Joe Daniel claimed to have seen Bianca. Now, I don't know the age of all the children. I know that one of them, unfortunately, had her 5th birthday, I think just about a week ago, while her mother has been missing. So, and that is another red flag for the mother's family. They're saying that there's no way that she would miss her child's birthday. So, but other than that, I'm not sure of the ages of these children. However, this does strike me as extremely odd, the way this story is coming together. I mean, he's having an argument with her that day. He's finding out she has an affair. She's giving her ring back. And then supposedly she's going for a walk and he decides to leave the children there sleeping alone. It just does not seem very safe. It doesn't seem like something a good parent would do. And I don't know if this guy's a good parent or not, but it doesn't quite line up for me in terms of his actions the next morning, where all of a sudden he's calling the kids to find out, hey, are you guys getting ready for school? That sounds like something that a caring parent would do. What prompted him to feel safe the night before in terms of leaving them, and then all of a sudden the next morning he's kind of worried that, hey, are you guys getting ready for school? How's your day going? It's just, it seems a little off to me. But this is looking at it from, like I said, this is hearsay information. We're looking at this through a very fuzzy lens. But unfortunately, this is literally, quite honestly, I feel like I have more information than the major media companies have put out. So I'm just trying to share it with you guys, but definitely take it with a huge grain of salt. Joe Daniels' alleged theory is that she returned to the house after he left and that Bianca was picked up by someone, possibly the person who called or texted her earlier, and that she took off with him and either decided to just start a new life or something bad happened to her. He claims to just want her found safely. Now, if we're just talking about these as theories, sure. I think if anything from this, we have to acknowledge there is a possibility of a third party. So far, the way this story is going, we have a very limited set of characters to understand around Bianca's life. We have her husband, we have 3 kids, we have her sister, and that's about it. We don't know, and her lover at this point, or the person she's having this affair with. We really don't know how this all works together. We don't know what type of relationship she's having outside of her marriage. We don't know if she has a parent that maybe isn't happy with how she's going about things. There's all kinds of different possibilities. But to his point, there could be something else at play here. Now, do I think that it's typical that someone that is having an affair with someone would kind of get rid of them or hurt them in some way? It just doesn't seem quite right. The logic doesn't really, once again, work for me in terms of that. Affairs, a lot of people have them because they're these kind of magical things. They take people out of their reality, and it kind of, typically you see that people that have affairs get into this honeymoon phase. They think that everything is so special and there's kind of this extra charge because they're doing something wrong. And then as life normalizes, sometimes those relationships don't work out. But at this period where she's literally just going through her separation with her husband, my assumption about the affair would be that this is probably a good relationship at this point that is pulling her out of her family, or that she's deciding to mix up her old family life and put this new person in place. So for me, the theory that this person harmed her in some way, relatively low, outside of the possibility that this is some kind of psychopath that is just, wacky and she hadn't quite vetted properly or didn't understand this person's intentions very well. But if you're looking at that story and comparing it to husband hears that his wife's having an affair, gets mad and, does something with her, I think the believability is definitely over on this side. Apparently, the cops went to the house and searched it and asked Joe Daniel if any items were missing. Supposedly, he said that a curling iron and some makeup was missing. No word on whether any clothes or luggage or anything else was missing. The news report states that Joe Daniel said to the police that he had taken her phone and wiped out her bank account, but according to my friend, they said that wasn't true. Once again, hearsay warning here. We don't know which way to believe, but I did confirm that it is being reported, just like I read to you earlier, that he wiped out her bank account and took her phone. Why would he state that, first of all? Because it's very easy to prove. These are electronic records. So if he did indeed do those things, he's in a better position to fess up to that very, very quickly. It's kind of a nasty thing to do in my mind. I mean, cleaning out someone's bank account seems like he's trying to hurt her right off the bat there. And then what's the context for her giving up her cell phone? Who would rightfully give up their cell phone to someone else? It's one thing to hear in part of the story that she returned a wedding ring to him. That fully makes sense, and that's more of an emotional statement that she's making to him about where she wants her life to go. But it doesn't say that she gave up her cell phone, and quite honestly, that's probably the device that she's using to talk to this other person. I find that extremely hard to believe. How did he come in possession of her cell phone? I want to know more about those details. Was there a struggle? Did she give it up? Did she throw it at him? There's all kinds of different ways that could happen, and obviously we don't know enough about it at this point. Giovanna, just to remind you, that is Bianca's sister, has recently publicized on Facebook that she no longer believes Joe Daniels' story, that Bianca, quote, went for a walk the night she went missing, and they believe that foul play was involved, as opposed to believing that she simply left of her own accord in order to start a new life and get away from her husband and marital problems. And that is all the information we're going to review from Erin, and this is really where we finally get to what type of ideas and theories can we surmise from all this. And number one, I think that's probably on most of our minds, is what her sister is stating here, that her soon-to-be ex-husband has some involvement in this. It would be fairly simple, the way his story has been kind of threaded together, for him to take that whole night doing whatever he was going to do with her, possibly hiding her somewhere. There's all kinds of different ways that can go, but there's this big gap of time where, Sunday night she goes out for a walk, he's the last person to see her. All of a sudden he decides to leave his kids home alone so he can drive to work. He doesn't even work, from what I understand. He's there the next morning, calls his kids, and leaves right away. And not to mention, I've gone through a divorce in my life. They are emotionally extremely taxing. Your focus is pulled all over the place. Being able to work the day after you heard that your wife is having an affair just does not seem feasible to me. I think the first thing I would do is call in sick, or talk to my supervisor and say, hey, I'm going through some crazy stuff at home. I need a day off. Especially if my kids are in bed and all of a sudden she's gone. Just the logic for him leaving, I know I'm harping on that, but the logic in there does not seem quite right. So that's it for that theory. Theory number two, she did leave to start a new life. There's some things that are tough to believe in this. She's leaving 3 kids behind. She's leaving a seemingly good relationship with her family behind, at least with her sister. We know that she was confiding in her sister earlier that day. She's posting on Facebook videos of her kids earlier that day. If someone's really in the mindset where they're going to be leaving, are they going to be doing that type of activity the day that they're getting ready to up and leave this whole situation? I don't think so. Now, that does leave the potential for it being some kind of minute decision or kind of in the moment type thing, which is kind of what I was hoping when I first heard about this case, because I thought that maybe after a number of days she would pop back up and come back around. But to hear that she missed one of her daughter's birthday, it gives me some trouble. That theory also really just doesn't hold a lot for me. And then we look at Joe Daniels' theory. There's another person that's involved here. They had something to do with her. I think the likelihood of that is as much as while she was on her walk, some stranger saw that she was out there and took advantage of her and took her away somewhere. The likelihood of both of those, I think, is somewhat low when you're looking at this already charged situation that's going on. Big emotions, life changes, tons of motivation, at least for anger, at least for lashing out. And possibly, I don't know. I keep looking back at this. From the limited information we have, there's just something in my gut that keeps pulling back to the husband on this one. But the information on this is very thin. According to the police, they don't have a person of interest at this point. There is no named suspect at this point. Do I think that will change soon? I sincerely hope so, but this case it seems to me like there is just such little evidence. We don't know where Bianca is at this point. Is she still alive somewhere? Is she being held captive somewhere? Is she not alive somewhere? There's all these different considerations. And then once you find that out, you can start backtracing it to who's possibly involved with this. And there's just this big missing piece. But that Sunday night, that May 1st, I would be extremely interested, if I was a detective working on this case, in seeing the ping records for both her cell phone and her husband's cell phone. Now, according to his story, those should match. So, well, at least at the point where he takes that phone. So I'd be curious to see what she did that day leading up to that, and then do they indeed match? And if they do match, where did he go? Because in my mind, if he harmed her in some way, that path that he took when he left is likely going to lead to potentially where she is. And I hope that someone's looking at this case from that angle. I'm almost certain that someone is. But all right, this is where I turn it over to you, BrainScratch Searchlight audience. Please look once again at this picture, Bianca Carrasco. If you know people in the Texas area, I know that we have a lot of viewers in Texas. Please share this video. Please get this poster out. I've also retweeted it. If you are on Twitter, grab a copy of this poster, tweet it out to your friends in Texas. It's very important that we get a lot of eyes on this. It's getting some coverage, but it's not getting very big media coverage. That's part of the reason why I wanted to be sure to feature this. And like I said, with such limited information, it's kind of understandable why the coverage hasn't been huge on this. But something about this case just feels very fishy to me. Just to end this episode on a bit of a positive note, I did want to talk more about the Texas EquuSearch organization and read just a little bit about them, and give you a link down in the description box below for how you can donate to them, because this is a search organization that runs purely on donations. So just to give you a quick background, Texas EquuSearch Mounted Search and Recovery Team started in August 2000 with the purpose to provide volunteer horse-mounted search and recovery for lost and missing persons. The team was started in the North Galveston County area because of the high incidence of missing persons in the largely undeveloped area of South Harris and North Galveston counties. With this in mind, the team's existence and purpose is dedicated to the memory of Laura Miller, the daughter of our founding director, Tim Miller. Laura was abducted and murdered in North Galveston County in 1984. Our team is composed of volunteers of various experiences, with many being experienced horse owners. So you guys know I like to highlight great people that are doing good things. I really think that this is a special area of expertise that Texas EquuSearch has. Having people mounted on horseback to go into these areas of rough terrain and look for people is pretty amazing. Outside of that, they also use drones. They use basically every technology that's out there, but this is the first time that I've seen an equestrian-based approach to search and rescue operations, and I thought it was really cool. So if you are compelled to, please use the link below. You can make a donation to them. They are a nonprofit 501c, so your donation should be tax deductible, but the important part is they run purely on donations from people like me and you, and I hope you'll consider possibly donating some funds to them. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of BrainScratch Searchlight. I hope you are all having a safe and happy week, and I will catch you on the next show on the Geek and Dorks channel. Take care.